Namaste, greetings, and welcome to yet another show of your favorite show, Manage Better. As you know, many of you may know that this series started in 2020 or so with a plan to do about 10 shows, and we are actually on our 109th show, though today's show is 87th, as you know. But very quickly, my name is Anshuman Tiwari. I am trying to bring people who have done something worthwhile in their life. They're coaches, practitioners, they have done something amazing, and are also willing to share their knowledge with others. So that's the premise in which I am trying to bring more people to these live shows. Almost all of the 109 odd shows are live, so except the first few ones. So that's also a passion with me. And I'm quickly checking first of all whether our LinkedIn and YouTube feeds are on. So if you are on LinkedIn or YouTube and can see me, hear me, even if you are not enjoying till now, please give me a shout. And I also see that the LinkedIn feed of our guest is also enabled. So thank you. Yes, Ashwini is here. So thank you, Ashwini, which means the feed is working. So we are set to go. Uh, Coming to the topic for today's session, and this topic has been one of the most demanded or requested topics, on my feed. So yeah, I think Srikar Posula is fantastic. So now I know that it is working. Like I was saying, this personal branding and career growth has been a topic that has been most in demand. And in general, because in the last 4 or 5 years, maybe a little bit more, we have seen an explosion of people wanting to make a personal brand of themselves. My personal view is that, and sometimes people don't like this view, is that everybody already has a brand. All we are doing is to sharpen and enhance that brand. So you will look around your family or extended family or colleagues or neighbors and things like, don't give any work to him or her if you want it done. Right. So that's the personal brand that that person carries. You may find people, please don't invite him to the party. If he is coming, I am not coming. Or is that person coming? I am certainly coming if she is coming, right? So all these are what are these? These personal brands have existed since we were children and have grown up with all this. With the advent of or the proliferation of social media, the branding aspect has also moved social. Right? Just like learning has moved online, branding has also moved online. So the concepts don't change, but certainly the medium and the abilities of the medium change. So I come with that school of thought, and whenever I speak with others, I also see that many people actually relate to this school of thought. All this is fine, but I can understand that if you are into some kind of a let's say business or entrepreneur, you may want some clients. So social media, social branding, or online branding is important. In that case, one is expected to build a brand. But what happens if you are not? You are an employee and you want your career to grow. So that's the topic that we want to explore today. And before I invite my guest, I want to apologize for slight sound that you might be hearing. Sometimes that sound may not be slight; it may be more than slight. There is some renovation work going on in the place, and beyond my control. So I have stopped thinking about it. If you don't like it, please curse me, but don't leave the show. Okay, with that, I will invite Priya Vajpeyi, good friend and fantastic content creator with over 223,000 followers on LinkedIn and other platforms as well. So, Priya ji, namaste. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here, sir. Really honored to be on the show of this caliber. Not because I know you, but because of the lineup of guests that I have seen. I really love the variety that we cover on this show. So thank you for having me.
No, no, my pleasure. And just to clarify for everybody that the first time we tried, having Priya on the show was last year December. Unfortunately, because of various scheduling reasons and not being too well on that day, we postponed it. And then see how popular this show is. It takes you almost 8 months, 9 months to come back to the show. So
True.
that is of course in a lighter vein. But you said we know each other. I'll share how we know each other. So we were together last year, I think, early December or so, on in at lovely professional university where we were both speaking and got an award each for content creation. I thought I was complete misfit there, but when I met you all, including you, of course, Priya, I realized that no, I mean, I belong to this, and these people are also trying to do something special in their space, and I can learn from them. So that's the background. But Priya, why don't you do multiple things, right? So I, of course, have shared that you are a content creator and help people with branding and including brands as well and personal branding as well. But you do a lot more things. So why don't you give a quick summary of what you are doing these days and surprise me?
Absolutely. I think very apt about me that what am I doing these days? Because about me, there's one thing that I always tell people that I do not restrict myself within boundaries. That, okay, now that I've entered this one thing, I'll keep doing it for next 40 years of my life. I'm someone, if I feel like this is something I should be upskilling on, or this is something I already have and I can help people with, I will dive right onto it. So about me, I graduated back in 2020 pretty recently, and then as an engineer, I started my career. After working for a few companies, I realized that my forte really lied back in counseling people and helping them with their careers, right? How do they manage it? So I got accredited from the Harvard University as a career manager. Post that, of course, things didn't limit me. So I wanted to start content creation. I started swiftly with LinkedIn. And then right now I'm focusing on Instagram as well. You can most definitely go and check me out there. Apart from that, we happen to have Curate, where I help brands with their marketing endeavors too. So that's another passion I share. So these things keep me pretty busy these days.
That is already quite a lot. I am struggling with one job, but that is the power. And before the show, we were discussing as well. That's something I can learn certainly from the younger generation, and that you can actually do multiple things at the same time. I grew up in a generation, and I'm neither ashamed nor excited about it, but it's just a fact that we always saw that okay, you can do a thing and do it well, and you don't have to look at other things. Of
Correct.
course, in our generation also, many people went around and did multiple things, but that was like 0.01%. Today, it's a lot more, maybe 2-3%, maybe much more, because I can see I have a lot of friends who are doing multiple things as such. So good to know. Before we jump into the show, I will share a message that is coming on screen from the culprit who got us together at LPU. Okay,
Lovely.
so Yogesh is in the show. Thank you, Yogesh. We will blame you for our friendship, so be ready to take that blame. Good thing in these shows, Priya, is that we can make fun of these people, but they can't talk back. So, okay. Now, diving into the topic a little bit, quite a lot of people have joined. So, diving into the topic just to get going with the show. Now, you built like 223K or something, a lot of followers, but we will get to that. But first question, of course, is that in your language, since you help people with brand, personal brand, all this stuff, what in your language or your view is a personal brand? And people have different views, but I want it from you because you work with a lot of people in this space.
Lovely. So I keep it very simple, right? To explain everybody on this podcast as well. Personal brand is basically an individual's either skill set or their life experiences, all the values that they have either acquired or have developed over a period of time, and their own personality trait that can define their own identity. So basically, if I give you a very basic example, in my case, it was purely the skill set that I acquired, and I wanted to pass that on to people to help them solve a real life problem that they are facing. For Anshuman sir, in a lot of posts that I see, he happens to share a lot of his life experiences throughout that are helping budding people in their careers and people in their mid careers. So that is how you need to see what unique do you happen to have that you can share with the world, which can ultimately build a personal identity for you. So just when I was listening back to the introduction of this show itself, sir said that when I enter a space and there is a group of people around, they should identify me with something that I have
Correct.
called as a personal brand or a personal identity. So that's how simply I would define it.
I think that makes perfect sense because, like I always keep saying, I did introduce that everybody already has a brand. We
Correct.
just don't realize, right? So even before social media, and since I grew up in an age before social media, and I think the only one I remember is Orkut and Facebook for a very long time, and that was more a family kind of thing, family and friends kind of thing. It was not really social. For many years, there were not even options to open it. So you were actually within family and friends kind of thing.
Very
But
true.
even then, there was always some kind of brand, and I keep reminding people that don't think that personal branding is new. It was always there. It's just
Correct.
that social media allows you to amplify and multiply your impact and influence, and that opens new doors. The doors didn't exist so earlier. So, for example, my voice in mid career can reach to people in many countries through LinkedIn. You write wonderful posts, and your voice can reach to people not only in India or in India in smaller towns where
Yes.
there was zero access earlier.
True. True.
So that's the joy of this whole thing. So that this I describe a little bit as the benefits of personal branding. But now, if we understand, okay, what broadly is the personal brand, what is the activity for personal brand? So, what do we do
To build one.
during building a personal brand in nutshell? And we'll go deeper into this because there
Correct.
might be people in this audience on, and since this show is recorded, Priya, it will be
Correct.
watched by people who are newcomers to this field. So, if you can expand a little bit, that a personal brand is there, but what is the activity of building a personal brand?
Right. So, first of all, what we need to understand within ourselves is personal branding is ultimately going to be the act of how others are going to perceive you. And what you tell them is something that they are going to implement in their lives, or maybe just to learn and to solve a problem per se. So, what I actually talk about today is content creation. It's slightly different as how people used to do it back in time, right? Back in time, you used to really go back to networking events. Let's say there's an office meeting. Now you know you're a good speaker and you can tell people how to speak or present themselves in a meeting. That's the only moment for you. But right now, owing back to all the internet and all the resources and social media, a variety of social media for everyone and for every form of content that you would like to produce, we have it already. So the only one thing that I suggest people to begin with to start building their personal branding is content creation. Now, to break it down even simpler, there are different kinds of people. For example, if I talk about myself, I'm not someone who would want to engage in a very long form of content. I would not be able to sit back and create a 3 hour long video on explaining someone, because I personally would not like to listen to 3 hour long video to understand something. So that's how I am, and I want other people also who are like me to be helped with like a quick bite-sized thing. So if you're one of those person, start with LinkedIn. You just have to write a quick post. How I started it, I used to write my post while I was on my way to college, while I was on my way to later on to office as well. So that's how quick it is, because again, you're not preparing much. You have your knowledge set, you have your skill set. It's just that you're preparing a bite-sized content, just how would you want others to perceive you, and you're actually serving it to them. Others are there who don't like to write. They like to really come and talk to people, but again, not in a long form content, maybe in a shorter form of content. You have got an Instagram has gotten reels these days. Earlier there were nothing like reels or shorts. Now you have YouTube shorts, so start delivering that content. A lot of people these days, sir, by the way, they come to me, they ask me, elderly people as well, that Priya, we are not very good with editing. We don't know how to do all this VFX. We don't know how to do these animations. Are people still going to come and listen to me? I always start to, actually give them my own example. When I started back with, let's say, Instagram, I am a young creator. I'm a Gen Z person, and people around me are coming up with all the buzz in their videos. And then it is getting viral. But if I talk about myself, I started with very basic vanilla versions of videos. But yes, the content was rich. It was actually worth their 30 seconds of time. So if you can make their time that they're investing worth it, then you don't have to be worried about the aesthetic appeal of it. People are coming for your content, not for the aesthetic appeal. Even they don't have much time to notice what ring light do you have going on in the background. They're really quick and they are there for the information. So don't, I would say, limit yourself. Don't bind yourself back with things that you don't have. Just get started with whatever you have, with whatever platform you would want to choose. And that's when you start to see things shaping up. And it's not that you have to follow one course. You can most definitely choose to start with one and then navigate your way around different platform, different forms of content. So that's one act of content creation I would always suggest if anyone wants to build a personal brand in 2024 and years ahead.
Fantastic. This is already a masterclass, and so, um, and I just want to bring in a couple of comments because they made total sense in this space. Ramesh, since you brought up age and a little senior people, and I count myself in that. I am actually very conveniently, I count myself senior when it benefits me, and I count myself as a youngster when it benefits me. But Ramesh Soodji, he's a fantastic content creator in his own right, and he has also liked what you said. So thank you,
Thank
Ramesh
you
ji.
so
And a couple of other people coming in. Bharat, thank you very much. Sukrit, thanks a lot. And of course, Yogesh, like I said, is already in the show. Um, so, just coming back to what you said, and I just want to add a little bit to it because in this space, I also have, in the last 2 3 years, some lessons learned. And
Yes.
particularly the part that you said that people knew, a lot of people don't start because they are looking for perfection. वो पहले दिन से आमिर खान perfection होना चाहिए. That is never going to happen because whatever you may do, you may call it perfect, but it will be totally amateur for somebody else. Or 1 year down the line, it will be totally amateur for you yourself as well. I will give you an example. Today, I get a lot of compliments for my videos, short videos, and even YouTube and this LinkedIn Live and all. People do reach out and say that this is very nice and you come out very natural and real and everything. This is not how it started. I will share a video from only 4 years ago, or maybe a little bit more. I remember it was August, September of 2018, or maybe, yeah, 18. So it's not very long back, but and it is the stiffest video you will see. I'm not smiling. I can't look into the camera. I can't say my lines. I had to do 20 takes for a 2 minute video and all of those things.
Yeah.
Uh, and today you see a slightly better version, and you've been seeing for 2 3 years. So request, like Priya said, if you want to get into this space, there is only one way. You have to get started. So if I can manage that, and I'm almost 53 now, so I
I
started in
can't.
late 40s. कोई भी कर सकता है. So okay. So thanks Priya. I think for simplifying this, I think I'm already loving this conversation because you have a knack of simplifying complex content into easy
Correct.
to digest content. So I think this, at least Tejomoy is listening, and starting quick is the key. So thanks a lot, Tejomoy, and fantastic. Okay, so just dive, and this is probably a good time to remind everybody in the audience that Priya will take your questions live. So if you have questions, please share, and you can share on either of the feeds. I have access to all the feeds. Priya's, this is going live on Priya's feed as well, my feed as well, and on YouTube as well. So please put in your questions, and we'll pick them up. Okay, so getting a little deeper into this, Now, we did speak briefly about starting, right? So let's peel that onion a little bit and say, okay, what kind of content we can do on LinkedIn, multiple types, of course, now. And I'm only saying LinkedIn because we are on LinkedIn Live, but you can expand it and include others. But there are multiple contents. Some people are good with audio, some are good with video, some are good with writing, some are good with long writing, some are good with short writing, and all kinds of things, right? So, uh, thoda, if you can expand this a little bit, and then we will connect it to careers after this
Correct.
questions.
Correct. So about that, right? The type of content is essentially the question that I'm getting. So I break it down very simply into three pillars. You need to see these three pillars, you need to answer these for yourself, and that's how you get started. Number one, and the most essential thing is the skill that I know is most conveniently articulated in which form. For example, I will give you a quick example. Let's say it's cooking, right? When you talk about cooking, there are two ways of content that I can deliver. I can show you like a 30-second reel, or I can give you a written recipe. Now, that 30-second reel, while is a very good way to just show what is being cooked and how beautifully it turned out, the person who actually wants to learn that recipe will find it very unhelpful because that 30-second told me nothing about the nitty gritties. While if I give them a recipe in written, the recipe books, or you see a lot of blogs out there, that would be very highly helpful for them. Or a long form of content. Nisha Madhulika, everybody knows her today. She is again someone who started back from home, back from the roots and made it big. So it's also first thing that you need to check the skill set that I have. What is the most convenient way and the best way that my audience will be able to pull out value from it? Is it that my content is best delivered in a long form of video? For example, these podcasts when you need to deep dive into a subject matter, or whether you need a bite-sized content wherein a technical term is being defined. You don't need like a lot of details, just that one definition. So that's how you need to see that first pillar. Second pillar I always talk about is what is your availability of time, because when you talk about content creation, showing up on a regular basis serves as the cornerstone of everything. If you can't show up on a regular interval, if you actually just ghost around after posting for a while, you essentially will be posting content, you will be creating content, but you will be far far off from building a personal brand. Personal brand is when people see you daily and they connect you with that one thing that you're talking about, and then they retain it forever, right? That's how they will remember you. So that's when you need to see what is my availability. If you don't have time to record reels daily, don't resort back to it. There's no compulsion. You can write post. If you don't have time to write post yourself, perhaps in a train or in a moving metro or in your background, in your office, you can shoot a quick video, do that. Or if you like to conversate with people, you really like talking to people, you can just sit back every day, do a Zoom call. This is what I used to do for one of the brands that I would post podcasting for. Just record it and put all of those podcasts online. So see your availability of time, because showing up every day is important and creating content on a regular basis is a must. Last but not the least is when I talk about the feasibility as well. So now let's say you need to see how soon. So I said posting regularly is very important for some people. I know a few creators, they post 3 times a day. They post in the morning, they post in the afternoon, they post in the evening. I know a few people who post once daily. I know some people who post once a week but are more famous and more successful in terms of building their personal brand as compared to someone, let's say, who's posting 3 times a day. So check the feasibility. Is the content that you create difficult to digest? Will people take more time to understand what you have written and then come back and engage with it? Then give your audience that window. Don't post like 3 times a day, otherwise your effort will get wasted. They will be able to actually digest one post out of the three that you've done. If your content is pretty bite sized like mine is, I give all the resources out to people that hey, you can check up these many websites, you can check up these many courses. So that is more of a checklist. My audience saves it and uses it later in the period of time. So I can post multiple times a day. So check the feasibility. So these three pillars is when I always talk about, even for my clients, when we talk personal branding and we start with creating a content calendar, this is what we start with at first. So I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, yeah, more than enough. I think you've if anybody has been listening carefully, and you can always go back to this last 5 minutes and re-listen to it. But you've
Correct.
laid out a very and not only a calendar and a plan, but also dissected it for different kind of people. So not
Correct.
everybody will start
Right.
at a big thing. So uh, one of the reasons I wanted to do this particular episode with you, Priya, is also because you also help people who are in, working professionals and so on. And I've also been in that space. So general tendency is to think that I need a personal brand if I'm selling something, right?
Correct.
And I keep saying that you need a personal brand even if you're working in an organization, because that's how the world is today. We are not doing anything new. So when maybe 50 years ago public speaking in became a little bit more prominent, people within companies were taking public speaking and communication courses to become better communicators and public speakers. They never were speaking in public, but since they were speaking to larger teams, maybe 50 people, maybe 500 people in town halls and other things, they needed those skills. Same way, today's skill to know is to how to build your online, social, or personal brand for more impact and influence. It is
Right.
linked to your career, so you don't have to be an entrepreneur selling a course or selling a service. You need it at work as well, because this is the new effective communication course from 25 years ago, or good management practices kind of a course from 25 years ago. This is the world we live in. So you can, of course, choose to ignore. There is no compulsion to survive like another 5 years. But if you don't, all the indications are that this it will be a very very tough grind for you, especially for people like me who are average at everything. If you are extraordinary at something, then your work will shine. But most people, by definition, are in that 30 to
Correct.
70 percentile.
Correct.
So, Priya, the reason, this slightly longer question is that how does this help? How does a personal brand or having a personal brand help in one's career?
Correct.
And I'm meaning a normal job, somebody working at 9 to 5, there's no 9 to 5 now, but whatever, 9 to 9. And for them, what is the benefit?
Right. So, a lot of people, right, sir, they come in with a tendency. I'll talk offices only and I'll talk professionals only. They come in with a tendency that, hey, my work is enough. I am cracking great deals. My managers and bosses and my managerial hierarchy is already appreciating it. And why do I happen to need a personal brand in the first place? I mean, I am not here to sell anything and I don't have any incentive doing it. So that's where I give them, first of all, and I'll give this example to everybody here. I'm sure it's going to resonate with them. Have you guys heard of Simon Sinek? I'm very sure you have by now, right? But let's talk his past. Simon Sinek was just born in London, grew up in South Africa. He initially, passed out in anthropology. Okay, that's biology for him. And then he started working in advertising and brand consulting. But even then, nobody, around really knew him. There are so many people in anthropology, there are so many people graduating every year. What makes him different? So this person, right, famous for the Golden Circle, famous for the book that is very renowned, Start With Why. This one person gives us the idea exactly why was personal branding important. He could have simply worked in the consulting and paid his bills off, but he started very very consistently articulating his own ideas, right, through various TED talks that you see, started creating engaging content, and not just that, he positioned himself ultimately as a sought after speaker, right? This ultimately led to such a tremendous career advancement for him. And not just that, even today, everybody that we talk about in day to day, office conversations, we talk of this person. So this is what essentially personal branding does to you. So take Simon Sinek and just remove personal branding from him. Just another anthropology guy. So many people that you actually keep walking and passing by on every day in a university and you would never notice. So if you think work only suffices, well, that's the bare minimum. Every other person is working around, right? That's not something you're doing uniquely. But if you start to put it in a manner that can actually lead a legacy behind, you can help other people through. Or if not helping, I mean, I don't want you to be a philanthropist all over and to always help other people around. But if you only want to share your knowledge, share your knowledge in a way that it is well documented for anyone who can tomorrow resonate with it and maybe feel relieved that, hey, this is not just happening to me, and this is how people navigate through it, so perhaps I can also do it too. So if you start curating a personal brand for yourself, you basically distinguish yourself from the crowd, right? And that is happening in the most seamless manner. You're not pushing others down. You're not using any means of politics in the office. That is very common. A lot of people talk about and crib about this all the time. You're not actually bootlicking too. You're not going to your managers and your managerial hierarchy and you're just, attending parties to be distinguished. You're someone by your skill set and by the neck of documenting it online or sharing with people, you start to see a lot of difference back in your career. People start to recognize you. Opportunities come to find and come your way. People do know that, okay, hey, Anshuman sir is a great speaker. If we have a town hall happening, why to, look at 20 different people and then shortlist from them? We know he's a great speaker. Let's pull him in. If I need to address a new company, I need to deliver a new pitch. Hey, I don't want someone who actually crams all the deck and come back. Let's pull in Anshuman sir. Even if he's not the subject matter expert, we will give him the deck. He can deliver it in the best manner possible. So you start to call down the opportunities and people remind you for what actually serves you the best. So career, in my own very personal example too, has gotten a great leap. When I started working with personal brand, I hosted a lot of international opportunities for Adobe. Otherwise, I was an NCG, just 1 year into experience. And these opportunity comes to really, really, senior folks in the line. So just do it and you will see the fruits bearing on the trees for yourself.
Fantastic. And I can add some examples in particularly connecting it to career. In my own career, I can say some years ago I was coasting or drifting along in my career,
Correct.
and I've been in this space, operational excellence space, quality management space for a long time. And after a while, there are only so many roles that you can additionally do. So this has given me a new lease of life within the organization as well, and I've worked for a few organizations, even in the current one. Very recently, on Teachers Day event, we had a town hall for hundreds and thousands of people across and multiple locations are connected. I was invited to speak, and I was asked questions around LinkedIn and being a top voice. So after the initial embarrassment, of course, because I was not expecting any of those questions in a organizational town hall, but those were the popular questions people wanted to know.
Correct.
There are people I meet within the company also who already know me, and there is no
Right.
connection. And I work for an organization which has more than 120,000 employees, so it's a large organization. So that itself is a value of personal branding, and your views and uh, ideas are already in a room. I keep saying that your personal brand is already in the room before you reach there. So if
True.
you have one which is positive, there is the brand is already there, including saying that many career decisions happen in rooms where you are not invited, but your
Very true.
brand is already there. Your fate is decided in a room where you are never going to be present. But if you have a brand which is enhanced and polished and available, there will be somebody in that room who will talk about you. So this notion that it doesn't help within a career and in a regular job and all is very outdated, I think, Priya. And you nicely explained it, and I hope the two examples that I shared also help anyone who's thinking that this is not required. Of course, there is always going to be a struggle. If you're 40 and 45 and starting this, you have to be ready to start at the bottom of the
True.
rung, the ladder. So that courage is required for anything.
I
Hmm.
really
हाँ,
love that
बोलिए.
you mentioned, being 40 and 45 and is still starting from scratch. The absolute contrary is true for people who are young, 2022. You need to be ready to actually overcome something that we call FOMO, fear of missing out. You
Yeah.
have to actually keep yourself away from a few, drifting away stuff, like getting into parties or spending your time watching Netflix, and then focus on how to actually deliver content tomorrow. Focus on how can I write a script for, let's say, my next 5 or 6 reels. Even then, when you are actually missing out on things that appears very common for people of your age and your friends, you are missing out on them and still investing your time into something that you think might not be useful at all. You will see really, really, I would say high soaring benefits very soon in the time. It's not something you have to invest in and then wait for another 10 years to mature. It is something you will see immediate effect. Very rightly said, effects will be seen in the room that you'll never be invited. I'm going to take this away from this one podcast. Lovely, very nicely put.
Thanks, Priya. Some comments coming in. Vivek, a good friend, is sharing.
Yeah,
He's a fantastic content creator based out of Bombay. Talks a lot about retail and early career, mid career, and communication and those kind of things. There's so much to take that is perceived, and when it comes to personal branding, all one needs is to emerge and take the first step. Fantastic, Vivek. Of course, like we all said, there has to be a first step. Whenever you start, there will be that first step. So,
okay.
why not today? Okay, very interesting comment or a question coming from Ajay Chejara. I hope I'm pronouncing the surname correctly. So apologies if I'm not. But Ajay is saying I have altogether around 1 million followers on LinkedIn in different domains, including recruitment and cybersecurity. Fantastic. I mean, 1 million is a lot
It's
of
a lot.
followers, Ajay. So congratulations. And but failed to build a personal brand from where to get content idea. Okay, so Ajay, I mean, I will take this question first and then invite Priya. But if you are in these two spaces, of course, and in total you have 1 million or so. So it is probably wrong to say that you don't have a personal brand. You already have a personal brand, all right?
Exactly.
So because
A
who
million.
people will die to have 1 million followers, man. So, so ये तो आप छोड़ दो. Maybe what you mean is that you don't have a very visible personal brand and you are not as well known as some of the other people with 1 million. I take that. That is possible, and then you have to do things that made them more visible. And if you want that visibility, right? So everybody wants different things. I have no view on that. So if you want to be a little bit more visible or get the benefit that other visible people, I mean, in our kind of field, for example, people like Ankur Warikoo and all are millions of followers and um, all those benefits. But if that is your target, then you have to do things that they are doing so that you are able to do get that followership. That's my 2 cents. But and by the way, Ankur was on the 100th guest on this show. So Priya, वो milestone हो गया है for this show. Uh, but anything you have to suggest to Ajay? I think it's a very fair question. I have seen a lot of people who are who have followers, but have not been able to carve out that brand for them. So
Correct.
he's an advanced user, you can say. But
Yeah.
any guidance for him, please?
I think this question has a very fundamental, what I'm perceiving is a very fundamental miss. I'll tell you what. 1 million followers, I totally agree with, sir. Please stop thinking that you don't have a personal brand or people don't know you. They know you. A million people chose to follow you because your data or your content was helping them in one way or the other. You have a great opportunity to now start. You don't have to start from a very little number of followers. But if you feel like you don't have a personal brand, that may be because you are not recognized among your people. They might follow you, but they might have forgotten that I follow someone called Ajay. If that is happening, one thing that I would want you to start working on and very seriously scrutinize on your profile is audience connect. Are you connecting with your audience? You know that your audience is in recruitment and cybersecurity, but do you conduct sessions like these wherein you are basically conversating with them? You're basically talking through what is their challenges, what is their problem. Work on a little bit feedback from them. Start showing that you care about them. There is a line of empathy and you would want to be available for them. Of course, you are not every day, every single moment available for your audience, but as and when possible, on weekends, on Saturdays, on Sundays, launch a poll. talk to people, take their questions, try to solve it in real time. This will start working on their retention of you as the person they followed, and it will connect back to the reason they followed you for. Once those two things connect, you are going to be unforgettable. And with 1 million followers, trust me, you're at a very, very good position to start building audience connect, right? So just start working on that one bit, and I think it will fare you very, very well through this. And to get the content idea, in cybersecurity, a lot of tech newsletters is what you can refer to. For recruitment, I think just open LinkedIn these days. You have so many good creators bringing up so many great topics. You can always share your 2 cents on those topics. So these two are the best places and sources for your field of content.
Yeah, and on the last point, Priya, if I can add, so Ajay, this is for you. So if you're struggling for content ideas, of course, there are many, many ways to do that. One simple way is, like Priya said, in your space, identify 10 leading content creators. Just visit their posts on a regular basis, daily, weekly, jo bhi, whatever is your frequency. I would never insist on frequency, but visit there, and while you read there, because you are an expert in your area, while you read it, you will get something to write on your own. There are some posts of mine which have been very popular and got good traction, which were actually written in response to somebody else's post. So, and then I thought, oh, this is actually a very good post idea. So why not use it as a post? And I did. And in many cases, and this is a funny one, Priya, I comment quite often on Adam Grant's posts.
Oh,
And I disagree with him on quite a few points, and I express my disagreement. I have 100% confidence that he has never looked at that comment. But each time I do that, I get 100 and 200 and followers additionally in that day, because there are people who agree with me and they actually like that. That
stand.
comment on Adam Grant's post usually gets me more likes than my regular post.
Lovely, lovely.
I find this very amusing, but it's a tip also that I can share with people. If you want to be known in that space, you have to play that game. I mean, not in the case, not in a
Yes.
wrong sense, but play as in you be part of the larger picture.
Just be a part of the process, engage, talk through your ideas. It's not always that you have to be all frolal, you have to be really agreeing back with people. Sometimes really, I would highly agree with this. Disagreement is something a lot of people have in their brains, but they don't have guts to write it. When they
Correct.
find a comment talking through their point, they're going to come, they're going to like that post, they're going to follow you, and they will be instantly connected with you. So that's another brilliant way forward. Yes.
तो गट्स का तो कोई प्रॉब्लम हमारे साथ कभी था नहीं. So I have never figured that knowing something about any topic is a requirement to speak about it. तो
True.
कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. Ramesh ji, fantastic question. I think this is a question on behalf of maybe hundreds and thousands of people who are slightly advanced in age and yet want to actively contribute on LinkedIn and related and similar media. So I'll read out the question for everyone. Do you think we seniors need to be prepared for, and I'm sure he's including me in the we seniors need to be prepared for not having too many followers, because what we share would be from experience of a couple of more decades, and many a young may not be able to relate. Fair point. So comparing with others on followers count can be detrimental for confidence. Yes, agreed. That is always there. I mean, I don't have to repeat that. Comparison actually kills the joy of creation. So, do you agree that one can have a few thousand followers and still be a brand? Um, Absolutely, Rameshji, you are a brand, and but let's take Priya's input. She is
Yeah.
many generations younger than us, so so we will take it. Priya, what is
uh,
your view?
I think that's exactly why I would want to answer this question for Ramesh. Um, Again, what you will post, I might not immediately relate to it. I have not been in that situation. I've never been, let's say, 45 and be in a room full of people and any situation, right? But I tell you how I would take it. These days, there's a thing, right? The competition, and especially if I talk about the organizational competition, is on its peak. and it's rising every day. I mean, for someone who would be 18 now would be in a more I would say competitive situation than I was in when I was 18. Similar happens to a lot of us in our runs of our professional life. While I might not relate with it 100%, but yes, I know that I might land up in a similar situation very soon in time. So people of our age, we have started to really follow this thing that prevention is better than cure, and we want to be pretty knowledgeable on everything that might happen to us tomorrow also. So while we might not immediately connect, we will consume this information and we will keep it back of our heads. This is one thing that I want you to know. It's not that your content or your ideas are not being perceived by younger generations. They are very well reading it, because I give you a very solid reason why. It comes in with a hints of credibility that this person has been there and done it for many decades. If he is telling us something, if he is saying anything that might not be something I know of or is not something that I'm immediately aware about, it is definitely going to be something I will start to relate with in the coming future. So that credibility really makes us read our seniors' post. That's number one. Number two, comparison. I 100% agree with sir. Please don't compare yourself anyway with anybody else. If I talk about 200K followers, and I'll take my own example here. Is 200K followers an achievement or a feat? Do I take it very proudly? I don't really do it. I am happy about the fact that 200K people chose to follow me because they appreciate the content that I post. But is it something that makes me superior to someone who perhaps has 20K followers or 30K followers but is posting brilliant content? Absolutely not. Because in the end of the day, it's your content and it's your quality of followers that counts. If I'm appealing to, let's say, students of India today, and just measure those in numbers, very statistically talking, these students, every year aspirants of IIT JEE, will always outnumber the senior folks, people in 45 to, let's say, 50 range of age group working in organization. So that could be one way to look at it. Why my followers are more than, let's say, someone who's much senior and talking to senior audience. So please just don't compare ever the number of followers. It's always the quality. It's always the engagement you're getting back. So I'm seeing a lovely engagement here in the comments, which I would, let's say, otherwise not have even found on a lot of podcasts that I have appeared on in the past, and people with much higher followership. So it's about the quality, not the quantity. And yes, keep posting. We are hearing it back because it gives us that credibility, which we at least don't have on a lot of resources on internet, but otherwise.
Really well said. Thanks, Rameshji, for your question. I'll take some more questions. These questions are better than the questions I had prepared, Priya. So let's
Yes.
stick to these. Astha is a Bangalore-based content creator, and very energetic and positive-minded content. Her question is how to get quality crowd to your content post. Crowd, I'm sure she means crowd in terms of audience, but crowd can mean many things. But how to get quality audience to your content and or post. Anything quickly, and I am now trying to take more questions, so thoda we'll speed up a little bit.
Right. Right. So basically, Astha, first of all, same pinch. I posted just a few days back, and I'm really struggling with this on LinkedIn these days. How to get your post reaching to quality audience, right? Because off lately, with the changes in algorithm, it has not affected all the profiles, but a few very good profiles, and probably a few profiles with a lot of students or younger generation following, that your content has suddenly been channelized to the audience, which is not very much intended. I got an advice on my post from Anshuman sir himself, and I started working on that. And I can already have so many ideas that I am going to implement in future. What are those ideas? Start A/B testing with your data. Okay, start to analyze a few posts that you have done in the past. What specifically did you added? Specifically in terms of keywords, in terms of tags, in terms of any particular comments that you might have added as an author to the post, and then it got channelized to the right audience. What was that one topic which appealed to the people, the quality people that you would want to ideally target your data or your content towards? And then please cross analyze and compare these information, these key points, with the ones that is not reaching out to the quality crowd, and then see what has changed for you. right? And after you analyze the entire situation, please work on a content calendar that I am also working on these days. Build a next 14-day content calendar. With every 4 days you change your track. First 4 days you actually start to play out with the old keywords and you see whether they are reaching your intended audience even now or not. If they don't, then start to actually analyze the post from a content creator which is actually, writing for your intended audience, has a good following and is still reaching out to them. So their post, once you analyze it, you will be able to see a difference. What is that they are doing differently? Because they are still getting that engagement, you are not getting that engagement. So start to A B test a lot, start to analyze your post, your old post, your current post, and some other content creators in the niche which are still reaching out to the right audience. And that's how you can start to actually channelize your post in the right direction itself. Not going to happen immediately, didn't happen for me immediately either, but I'm hoping to work on this and I'm very positive that this will render a good change onto my profile. Anything else that you would like to add, sir, here?
No, not really. I think Asa, I have seen some of your posts, so um, they come from a good place. So I am not too worried. Maybe your number of likes or reactions or impressions are lower than what you expected or what they have been in the past. So, like I suggested to Priya also last week, that then it is time to change a little bit and change some formatting or some seeing. For example, on because of the advent of mobile, and this is a very basic thing. Everybody thinks that only selfies are working because
Yes, yes,
people are looking at photo. No, it may be true, but the more technical reason is that majority of people are watching on mobile. So when you look at on mobile, the post appears as a very small snippet, and it is the visual image that grabs you. So anybody, right? So when you yourself are looking at your own LinkedIn feed on mobile, you will see that a visual image will grab your attention. It's just that. It's just that macro or microsecond or millisecond of attention, and then you say, okay, let me read it a little bit. So that could be one thing. Maybe so. I of course don't have too many photographs of myself, but I do post sometimes. But I try and create an image on Canva or something, so
yeah,
that it goes along with the post. So, and these days I've also experimented a little bit with AI generated images of what I'm saying and converting that into an AI generated image, and even experimenting with that. So this is a space which is changing and we are learning every day, so there is absolutely no harm in experimenting a little bit. So that is all I can add. On the same lines, there is one more question from Avinash, and I'm trying to take it quickly so that we can end within scheduled time. With the low attention span, is the video reel recommended also part of a regular post? Answer is yes, Avinash.
totally.
But I don't totally agree with the low attention span. Think of this is a slightly negative way of looking at it. Think of it as an additional medium to convey what you're saying. So if you can write a post which can be read in 3 minutes, but you can concise it in a 1 minute
30.
package, it is a additional distribution medium for you, right? So if you think of low attention span and it, majburi mein you are making a reel and all that, you will never do it properly and you will never do it, dil se nahi hoga. So think of it as, there's a wider audience, people who like looking at video for whatever reason, वो उनकी choice है, right? So for whatever reason you can't fight with the social dynamics or attention span, like you say, and other things. But real and small content or video content, short form video content works. But please understand, it gets you a lot of impressions, but it does not get you engagement. People watch it and move on. So
Yeah.
please be ready for 1 million impressions, but only 100 likes. So your choice. Priya, you have anything to add to Avinash's question?
Totally agree. Comes with a pinch of salt and depends from person to person. A lot of people have great saves. If you're talking about resources, you will get saves, but not likes. So that pinch of salt is always there, talking about the reels and stuff like that. But when you say or you ask me that is reel recommended, 100% totally yes, because platform like LinkedIn, where we could have never expected they to move to a video form of content. Even they have introduced it of lately, so you can actually expect to see a lot of boom. YouTube had shorts, then Instagram has reels, and now even LinkedIn has so many video posts. So if you're starting, please start working as another I would say distribution channel. Reformat your content, reuse what you have already written, now articulate it as well in a more short and concise manner, and see it works wonder for you.
It does, and like I said, just think of a distribution channel. Don't think too much about it. Okay, we are in the last 5 minutes of the show, so I'm taking a few questions. One topic I, of course, wanted to remind everybody that we did discuss a little bit about careers and why this is important. So, while today's show is more on personal branding and social media using LinkedIn, but use it as an employee, right? So there are some do's and don'ts when you are an employee. So maybe Priya, I'll pick your brains a little bit. So, for example, in my case, I make sure that I follow certain do's and don'ts. I don't typically talk about anything that could be misconstrued or understood as a company position. I'm very careful
Correct.
about that because I work for a large global organization. I don't want to be speaking for the company, and I don't write about any topic. I work for a large IT services firm, so I have to be very cautious that anything that I say should not be seen as a company position, for example, and that limits topics that you can write about, and that's okay. Other than that, it is not a problem. So, 2 3 people had this question, Priya. Yeah, since I thought I'll take up this question as well. Anything you want to add, and what are some do's and don'ts for people who are employed in large corporations
Sure.
and are want to be active on LinkedIn?
Right, right, right. So I would say do's everybody knows. I'll more talk and focus more on what are don'ts. First thing, most definitely, Sir has already mentioned, please don't speak on the behalf of your organization ever, intentionally or whether unintentionally in your post. Secondly, please do not try to tag companies or people around when you are trying to articulate any of your ideas, because that can essentially get you reported and even blocked. This is not right, right? An organization is representative of its own culture, its own idea manifesto, unique value proposition, and you are in no way entitled to tag those brands unnecessarily. When we met Sir in LPO, I also happened to met one of my another creator friend, and that day I realized the logos of companies that we keep on using very freely, sometimes the company can come and they can actually report those logos as well. So if not very much necessary, and if you're not talking of something which is officially posted by the company on their own website, then try to refrain from even adding their logos. Let's say I'm talking about one of their latest job posting, that's when you can use it because they have also officially posted it online. In case they have not posted it and it's just something you're talking about how work culture is at some XYZ company, please refrain from using their logos. And lastly, one thing that I would want all of you to just keep in your mind as a general guideline is never hurt, just never try to hurt or talk bad about anyone's belief or anyone's otherwise perception of any subject matter. You are there to give your own opinion. People can be pretty sentimental about certain things too, so it's always better to not cross cut their sentiments. It's just a best practice. You might absolutely choose to do otherwise. People on YouTube keep doing it all the time, but then it's your own choice what sort of line do you want to be on. And as a guideline, since this was asked, I really wanted to mention it.
Fantastic. I think so. The last question. I think this is. I can't see the name of the person, but I think it is Gonzalez or some similar. And I checked on LinkedIn. There, the name is appearing. But
All right.
apologies to the person who has asked the question. I can't see your name. But the question is, what is the reason the likes are usually 1 to 2% for best content creators? There's no reason. This is life, I think, because even in life, you read newspaper. What do you remember after 5 minutes? What do you
Correct.
remember after 10 minutes? What do you remember tomorrow? This is life. I think 1% is a huge number, because see, for some many people who have followers in millions, and we had one person Ajay earlier, and so many other creators. When they create something, there are thousands of followers who just read one part of it and they connect because they already know what that person says on a regular basis. So they like it. And some are blind followers also in the sense that, bhakt hain, they will like, which is also welcome. Everybody has a choice to do what they want. So 1 to 2% is actually not bad globally, and I think if you get to 1%, it's really good. That's my view. But Priya, your view. You are an expert in this.
So, likes, engagement, impressions, comments, I'll combine all of them under one umbrella. There's no monotonous curve. It's not going to be a straight line curve for you. There might be 1%, 2% on most of your posts and might not render you any followers. There would be that one post, it'll spike and will give you more followers than all the last posts cumulative. So that's how Sir called it life. I call it social media's own dynamics. It is one of the very basic and fundamental dynamic of social media, how you talk to people. So this was a 1 hour long conversation. Once you're done and dusted, you'll go back, you will not remember all of what we said. You'll remember that one thing that you connected with the best. So if there's one connect for anyone reading your post that particular day, they might like it. The other day, the same person reading your very post, they might not choose to like it. So it's very much unpredictable, and it's good in its own sense that you don't have to be worried about likes every single day. You just have to be worried about people coming and reading your post. So impressions are more that matters a lot. Likes and all, these days you have a lot many ways that people are even getting likes by posts, so they are very much, I would say, deceiving. So don't follow them much. For yourself, do the analytics. That will pay you off a lot better in a longer run as a content creator.
Yeah, and it depends also. And by the way, the person asking the question was Alexander Gomes. So thank you, Alexander, for the question. It also depends, Priya, like, what do we want? So for example, I am very interested in the comments that I get. I'm less interested in the impression and the likes that I get,
Correct.
but very interested.
Correct.
And in many of my posts, the number of comments are very high. And it's also partly because I actually talk to a lot of people. So somebody comments, I actually reply, and they reply, and there is a conversation sometimes.
Right.
So that is my choice because I enjoy doing that. I have zero idea as to how it benefits or even if it benefits or not. People have told me it actually doesn't benefit because LinkedIn might see it as a spammy post because so many
Correct.
comments are there and so on. Of course, I'm aware of that, but I don't think any of the content is spammy, so I'm sure they won't treat my post as a spammy post. But to Alexander's questions, that's how you see. So 1 to 2% is not bad. And with that, we will close the episode for today. We are already 2 3 minutes above time, Priya. Apologies for that. Um, we end every conversation with the announcement of the next conversation. And if any word has been used more than personal branding in today's conversation, it was artificial intelligence or AI. We used that quite a bit. And that is the topic of next week. So 12th of October, we will be speaking to Abhinav Agarwal, who's India Forbes under 30, Asia 40 under 40. He is an advisor or has been an advisor to Warren Buffett on building Warren Buffett's AI vision. So if you have any apprehensions about what is this whole AI thing, come to that show. You will hear from somebody who is deeply involved. He has also written a book which is actually co-written by an AI platform. So it is the world's first book which is written by AI in that sense. So there are not too many people who can explain and demystify AI for all of us. He will be here next week, Abhinav Agarwal, and same time Saturday 11 a.m. Looking forward to you all joining. With that, Priya, thank you very much. Any closing comments that you have for our audience, quickly?
No, I think thank you so much for having me here, sir. It was indeed a very eye opening conversation for both of us, as well as thank you everyone who joined this conversation and for keeping it super engaging. I was actually, while you were talking, I was reading through the comments. So sorry we couldn't take all the questions, but feel free to drop it down on sir's post and my post in the comments. We are going to reply back to each one of you, and let's be connected. And thank you so much for coming and hearing back to us today. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. See you next week, 11 a.m. on Artificial Intelligence with Abhinav Agarwal. Bye bye.
Marking my calendar. Bye bye.